Counting down. Here we go.
All right.
Hi and good morning, everybody, and welcome to our first REMAX Live event. We started and wanted to broadcast to anybody and everywhere who's out there watching to provide you with good content and good information to help expand your business. So my name is Elizabeth Mendenhall, and on the call we've got featured with us Ford Mendenhall and Bill Gassett, who's a top agent in Massachusetts. And with that, we're excited to have you join us today. If at any time during the broadcast you have any questions, we want you to go ahead and tweet them using the hashtag REMAXLive, live, L-I-V-E, REMAX Live, and we'll try to incorporate those questions into the conversation. But I'm going to turn it over to our host and guest, Ford and Bill.
Morning, everybody. Welcome to REMAX Live and Google Hangout. And today we have Bill Gassett from Massachusetts, who's a top agent with REMAX. I forget what's the name.
Executive.
REMAX Executives. Okay, great. REMAX Executives in Massachusetts, and Bill was able to join us today for our first hangout. And we've got some questions and answers for Bill today. And Bill, we're just going to start with how long have you been in the business?
I've been in the business for 27 years, Ford.
Okay. And what started you out in the business back in early 27 years ago?
Very good question. I actually went to Northeastern University in Boston, and part of what Northeastern offered was a cooperative education program where you could work for half the year. And I had just finished my freshman year of college and had just gotten home for the summer and was excited to be out of college. And my dad said to me, you know what, you should take a real estate course. And at the time, it was the last thing I ever wanted to hear because I had just gone through, 6 months of school, and I was excited to be done with that for my first year of college. But I ended up taking the course in the summer and loved it and did real estate as my co-op job at Northeastern, and ended up really loving real estate and stuck with it all through college, and here I am 27 years later.
Fantastic. Okay.
Hey, Bill, was your family in the business? Is that why he suggested it?
My dad was a builder for many years, and he thought, having a real estate license would be a great fallback, and I could sell his houses if I didn't like something else better. So yeah, that's what ended up happening.
Great. You started in the family kind of like we did.
Yeah.
Well, fantastic. As far as last year, about how many transactions did you sell last year, and what was your total volume last year?
Well, I'll answer that two ways. I don't know if you guys saw it, but Real Trends just came out last week with a list of the top brokers in each state, and I happened to be on the list, and they had me down as having 80 transactions. I actually had 96 if you want to count referrals, but just straight transactions, it was 80.
Okay.
That's a lot of business. That's good.
Yeah. And what was your total volume last year?
Honestly, Ford, I never added it up, but if I was to guess, I would say it was probably 30-something.
Okay. And how was the market last year in your area, and starting with this area, and this year too?
Last year was very good. So to give you a quick recap of our market here, it kind of bottomed in 2005. That was like the end of the boom. And we had 7 down years where it was really tough. So 2012, the market kind of bottomed, and then last year was the first year we saw appreciation. So the spring of last year was like going back to boom times. It was crazy. We'd have multiple offers first week, houses selling over asking. So it was like a total breath of fresh air. It was like, this is awesome. I remember these days. So yeah, it was great. Last year was awesome.
Bill, do you still work with a lot of builders?
I only work with 1 or 2 now. Years ago, I worked with a lot of builders, but with the market changing, a lot of builders unfortunately went out of business. We also, where I am, it's not a high growth area. All our growth has already kind of taken place, so There's not a ton of available land to build on. So I wish I could say I had more builder accounts, but really I only have one or two.
We have so much land in the Midwest, and so we always forget that sometimes your lack of new inventory is not
Yeah.
because of need, but because of space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Bill, are you an individual agent or do you have a team?
I'm an individual agent. I've actually been an individual now for, I want to say, 4 years. The prior 13 years, I was in a team with 2 other people. And just, 4 years ago or so, we ended up splitting up. I was partners with another guy, and we broke up. And he's actually the owner of the office, so I'm still here. He's the owner. We're friends and everything, but we just kind of went our separate ways.
Okay, great. What is the best RE/MAX tool right now that RE/MAX is providing you that you would utilize in your current business that you think's going on?
That's a really good question, but to be very honest, and maybe I'm missing the boat. I probably am, but I honestly don't use a lot of RE/MAX tools.
Okay.
I'm very heavily into social media, but rarely do I ever use anything from RE/MAX. Maybe you can tell me what I'm missing.
I understand. Well, one thing, we know that you're huge into social media. Why don't you talk a little bit about your Google Plus page to everyone? Bill has a very excellent Google Plus page, and for all you following out there, please go check it out. He's got an excellent page and does a lot more than most of the people I see in the country. So, since you talk about social media, why don't you tell us how you utilize your Google Plus page versus your Facebook and maybe Twitter?
Sure. I got into Google Plus pretty much in the early days. I wouldn't say I was in the very first batch of people that joined, but I would say fairly young in Google Plus, and I really liked it, the way the platform was set up and the way you could share information there. Basically, what I've done is, or what I do, pretty much on a weekly basis, is share all the best content that I provide in my blog. So my blog is a big part of my business, and not only in Google Plus, but I use a number of social media platforms to share the content that I write. A blog is a great way to have additional business. I get quite a bit of it from my blog and my presence in general on the internet, and I've built up quite a bit of following on Google Plus. For anyone that's watching and is interested in Google Plus, there's a number of things that you can do to create a following. The biggest thing, and this is across the board in all social media platforms, it's all about engagement with people and building relationships. The thing that I see all the time in real estate with realtors, and the mistake that they make, is sharing too much of listings. It's, let me dump my listing on Google Plus, and then I'll head over to Facebook and I'll post it there, I'll tweet it, I'll Pinterest it, I'll do everything with my listing. But there's nothing gained by doing that if you're not building relationships with people by sharing other things that are interesting. So I share content that helps people, how to, selling tips, buying tips, stuff surrounded around social media. How can I help a real estate agent out in Missouri? That's basically what I do and how I create people following me.
Great. Let me ask you this.
Bill and I, we first met because we were both asked and invited to do Google Hangouts with Veterans United. And since then, I've been following him on Google Plus, but also on some of his other sites. And he really does post really good, interesting content that I can see would be really valuable to home buyers and sellers. And so that's if you're watching, you want to follow him. You'll get some good ideas.
Thanks, Elizabeth.
And let me ask you this, Bill. For the people that are out there struggling what to blog or content or post content, do you mostly write your own content? Do you pay for services where you get content? Do you snag content from other places? Do you do a little bit of both?
I write all of my own content, so everything that I do with my blog is my own. But in terms of social media and how to use it, you don't want to just share your own content. Part of what makes a person that does well at social media is sharing other people's content as well. That's how you build relationships with people, because everybody loves to see their name in the spotlight, you know. So if you're sharing somebody else's content, they're obviously going to be very happy about it, and they're going to say, "Oh wow, this guy Bill's sharing my stuff. That's great. Let me check him out." And that's how people follow you, and how you build relationships with people. If you just share your own stuff all the time, it's going to be an echo chamber where on your pages.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's going to care.
Is Google Plus your main social media in today's, or do you
I
balance it out?
actually have 3 social media sites that I enjoy using on a daily basis. Google Plus is definitely at the top. I'm very heavily involved in Twitter and also on Pinterest. Occasionally I'm on Facebook, but I would say that out of all of them, that's the least for me.
Right. Let me ask you about Pinterest, since that seems to be, obviously everyone first goes to Facebook and Twitter, and then it kind of goes down from there. Talk to me about what kind of success you've had on Pinterest.
Well, and this probably is going to surprise a lot of real estate agents. Pinterest is my #1 traffic source to my website. It is incredible the amount of people that you will get from Pinterest. Pinterest is the only site where a link has a lasting effect. So you can share something on Google Plus, and within a day or 2, it's out of people's stream. They're not going to see it really anymore. On Pinterest, when you share something there, it just keeps going and going and going. So if you write a good article and you have a really good visual, people are going to constantly be pinning that over and over again. And it can just go on and on for weeks, months, and it's a constant flow of traffic that you get from those pins. So it's an underutilized source that a lot of realtors probably aren't taking advantage of. I know myself, when I first heard about Pinterest, I thought to myself, oh, it's just going to be a bunch of women sharing ideas on curtains and pocketbooks, and what can it do for me? And, I started using it, and I was pleasantly surprised, going, oh my God, there's like so many people visiting my website from just a few things that I've shared. So I really started using it, and now it's kind of snowballed from there.
That's great. That's great information, Bill. And for all those out there following, if you have any questions, you can hashtag Twitter, hashtag Remax Live for any questions for Bill during our thing. Great information on Pinterest.
If anyone wants to follow along on Pinterest and Twitter, my name is Mass Realty, M-A-S-S Realty.
Well, and in fact, Bill, that was one of the first questions that we got. It said, how do we find you on Google Plus? And maybe, because Google Plus is a little bit new to people, maybe you can kind of explain to them a little bit how you interact there with people.
Well, on Google Plus, it's just my name, so it's Bill Gassett. I mean, if you do a search, you'll find me there, obviously. I'm not sure I understand the question, though, Elizabeth. What do you mean by?
Well, and I think that's part of the dynamics, is that Google Plus seems to have eluded a lot of people, and they're not as familiar with it. But what Bill said is exactly right. Generally, because Google is the top search engine, you can just kind of search somebody's name. I'll always add maybe Realtor or even Remax if they're with Remax at the end, and generally you'll find them right up and they'll pop up. And the nice thing is you'll see a picture of them and go, "Oop, found the right person."
Yeah.
The one thing that you do have to do is you have to sign up for a Google Plus account if you have a Google email. So there's a little bit there, and there's some really good videos on YouTube to learn more about Google Plus.
Great. Bill, back to a little bit of real estate. Is there anything stands out in your mind in the last year that you changed or did differently within your business? Something small, something big, or?
Really nothing that different. I think this year I've probably maybe used social media more than I should be. I know that's kind of a crazy thing, but and this is kind of awful to say, but at times I actually enjoy social media more than I do actually selling houses. And I probably spend more time on it than I should, and I'm at the point in my career where, whether I sell 5 or 10 more houses in a year, who cares? I'd rather have the time and just enjoy myself and instead of worrying about,
Right.
achieving so many sales or whatever.
Fantastic. Is there any marketing strategies that you would consider that you get the best return on, whether it be a listing or attracting buyers? Talk about maybe some marketing strategies you might do.
Well, as I mentioned before, the blog is definitely a big part of my strategy. So when I'm meeting with a seller, I will spend a lot of time talking about exactly what I do on the internet and how prominent not only my websites are, but my blog, how they come up, how I can utilize them. I show sellers how when people go into Google and they're doing any kind of local searches, they're going to see my site. It's just, like I said, having a blog that you share content with and people do searches centered around real estate. Honestly, a lot of times I'll get people that will just call me and ask for the interview just because they've gone on and done some kind of search online beforehand.
Right.
So that's really what drives a lot of my business.
As far as the blog, how often do you like to post your blog?
I post once a week, occasionally twice, but usually it's once a week.
Okay. That's good information because I know a lot of people out there deciding, how much they really need to post their blog to keep activity going. So
I will tell you, I probably have a little bit of a different strategy than a lot of people do. My theory is, I'm not going to sit down and write 5 blog posts a week and just, punch out a 300 or 400 word post that's basically a bunch of blah blah. I spend a lot of time on stuff that I put together. They're really lengthy, detailed posts. And everything that I write, I have one thought in mind. How do I get that post to the first page? That's all I think about. And when I write stuff, I write to get it to the first page. So most of my content is probably between 1,500 and 2,000 words, where the average blog post that a real estate agent does is probably 300 to 500. But on the internet, as you guys know, it's extremely competitive. So if you write about something that has already been written about 500 times before and you write 300 to 500 words, it's never going to get to the first page. So, that's my thought process on blogging. I try to write the best piece that I can write,
I gotta tell you, I heard that. That is absolutely so impressive because my blogs generally consist of the 140 character type. So that's awesome.
Yeah, Bill's got an excellent blog out there for the followers out here. So check it out. Let's talk about buyers and sellers, Bill. What first with buyers? What is the best thing that you feel that you do to service your buyers when you're working with them?
Well, let me just quickly explain to you a little bit about my business. I don't work with a ton of buyers. Most of my business is structured towards sellers. I would say it's actually probably as much as 90% sellers, maybe 10% buyers.
Wow.
Typically, the only buyers I work with are my sellers that are staying local. So I actually have 2 buyer's agents that I refer the vast majority of all my potential buyers that come off my listings I give away.
Okay. And those agents that you refer to, do you work with them as far as, do you follow up with them and make sure they're doing their things, or do you just kind of turn it over and let them do
I kind of turn it over. I'm not a,
right.
all over the person type of thing. I trust that they're going to do what they should do and let them run with it.
Right, I understand. Okay, as far as sellers, what's your niche for your sellers in your area?
Clearly, you're doing something right if you're 90-10 because that's way above most agents.
Yeah, for the last, I would say, 7 or 8 years, a big part of my business was short sales. you know, like most places across the country, we had a spell where it was very tough, and there are a lot of people that needed financial help. So I saw an opportunity to jump into the short sale part of things and really, again, used my blog and wrote a lot of articles regarding short sales that would help people. I was literally getting, believe it or not, calls from places all around the country that would just call me up out of the blue and ask for advice. So after the first year when this was happening, I said to myself, you know what, people are reading these articles. There's got to be some way that I can actually try to capture some business from this. So what I did was, at the end of all of my blogs on short sales, I wrote like a few sentences saying that if you're reading this and you're not from Massachusetts and you need some help, you need to short sale your property, I will put you in touch with a short sale expert in your area. And I was literally getting, every week, people that would call me and ask me if I could refer them to somebody else. So I was getting an income stream just from sending referrals to other agents across the country that would go to my blog, see the post, and the easiest money you could ever make. You know, you just make a phone call, and then, you know, 4, 5, 6 months later, you'd be getting a check. So it was pretty cool. I mean, that's kind of tapered off now. We don't have as much short sale business as we used to, but that was a pretty good niche. I'm trying to find that next niche. You know, it was such. You know, I always think, what can I write about that you know will do that? And I really haven't come up with it yet. But yeah, it was pretty cool.
That's great information, Bill. Thank you, for sure. Let's see. What as far as this year, or actually we're already halfway through this year, but in the future, what are the things you're thinking about that you want to learn about in the future, or what do you see in the future here coming next year or two that most interests you and you might want to start researching some more?
Well, I'm always staying on top of technology because I think that's important. That's what people want. Obviously, you know, the younger crowd's certainly into technology, and I think more and more people are gravitating towards social media. So my focus has been on those two things. You know, that's where I keep my thumb on things, and you know, always looking out for that next system or tool or something that's going to help me in my business. I wouldn't say that I've come up with anything revolutionary recently, but yeah, those are the things I'm always looking out for.
Okay. And any
questions?
questions?
What I would say to that, though, Bill, is that, you know, and just some of your comments that are going through my head is that, you know, Ford and I attend a lot of RE/MAX events, and we have a lot of agents in our office who have attended a lot of realtor events, networking events, and it's a great way to build relationships and to develop that referral stream. But what you've talked about is what I really think is involving the realtor of the future, and that is that network that you create online. I mean, it's just like how we met. You know, we're so thankful that you're here today to be able to help present and provide some information to our agents. But we've never met. I don't think we've ever seen each other at an event, but we've been able to connect here, you know, kind of online. But I have to go back to you, and I have to pick on you because you made the comment that you don't use some of the RE/MAX tools. And one of the things that I would just say from viewing your sites and viewing your blogs, viewing your website, and what you do, is you absolutely maximize the brand. You take full advantage of using the balloon. You take full advantage of promoting yourself as a RE/MAX agent, and there's no doubt if I'm going to try to find a RE/MAX agent, because as a broker, a lot of times that's a question I'll get, and someone will say, do we know an agent somewhere? And we need to make sure we know your specific area in Massachusetts. But that's one of the things that you do so well, is there's no doubt if somebody goes online and they know Bill Gassett's a RE/MAX guy. And, you know, a lot of times that could be the first phone call when someone's trying to find you. They associate you with the balloon.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I definitely, I love RE/MAX. Obviously, I've been with RE/MAX since '96, and I can't picture myself going anywhere else. I love the whole, the way the company's structured, where you control your own business. I mean, that's completely the way I would always want it.
Sure.
I can't imagine ever going back to a traditional company and doing uptime or phone time, whatever you want to call it. I mean, this is kind of crazy. It's archaic to me when I think about it. But yeah, I love Remax, obviously. I think it's the best brand there is.
We agree.
Yes, we do.
Have you guys gone to Vegas?
We have been to Vegas before. It's a great convention.
Yeah, I've gone to the last 2 years, and I've really liked it.
Fantastic. Do you plan on attending next year?
I'm thinking about it. Yeah, I probably will end up going.
Okay. Great.
Bill, for somebody who has never been, what's the best reason you like going to that conference?
I always like getting away. I think that's probably the number one. But I don't know. It's just a fun time to network with people, like you said. You go to these events and you get to meet other people, and there's some good classes. So, and of course it's in Vegas, so you can't beat that.
Right.
I always like the Remax conference because I think it's where you get to hear from real agents who are selling real business versus sometimes a professional speaker.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
They really do a good job of bringing it all together and making you feel a really good part of Remax there,
Agreed.
Bill, for a new agent, and obviously you probably have these thoughts as we all do. If you're a brand new agent and you're starting tomorrow, what's the best tips, ideas that you would do in today's world to get up and going as a new agent?
I'm probably going to sound like a broken record, but again, I would, just because of my own experience and how it's helped me so much, is having a blog. I mean, I think it establishes your credibility. If you do a good job with it and you really treat it like the most important thing, it shows. So somebody's new. There's still not a lot of people that do blogs. I think, I don't know what the last survey was. I know it's under like 10% of real estate agents do blogs. So if you sit down, you're a new agent, and you really create something special, I think that could really quickly catapult a new agent who's in the business, starting out.
Fantastic. Real quick, on a side note, back to Twitter. What things do you do with Twitter?
I share all my content there, and I share other people's content. Pretty much the same thing I do everywhere else. It's
okay.
I have a fairly decent following on Twitter, and some of the same people. I'm almost, I don't know what the right way to call it is, a small group of people that constantly share each other's content. When I tweet something there's a whole, I could say that there's probably maybe 20, 25 people that I know will definitely retweet what I post. And there's probably about the same amount of people that I would always do the same for, because it's like you rub my back, I rub yours type of thing.
Of course. No, I think that's always a big thing in social media. You want to, people like your stuff, you want to like their stuff, retweet, tweet. I agree, definitely.
Well, and you bring it up, it's another great way to kind of use that network, because realtors in other states can help like other realtors' content. It's kind of like an online business networking event, which can be really, really effective.
Yeah, it's another way of putting your content out there and having it be found by somebody. So that's why I think all of these channels are important.
Hey Bill, we've got a question on back to your blog. Do you do any specific SEO just for your blog, or the question is how do you get short sales to show up at the top? Obviously, or is it just because you tweet a lot and authorship is a thing that Google values?
Okay, so very good question, but hard for me to answer that question and without spending a ton of time on it. Down to the basics, with the way Google's changed in the last few years, it's been dramatic. So most people know that their algorithms have really gone through a whole slew of different things. And for Google right now, quality is the #1 thing. It used to be years ago, you could get a crap piece of content onto the first page of Google pretty easily just by doing some certain things that would get it there. Now you can't. Without really having good content, you're not going to get to the first page. So there's what's called 2 parts of SEO, on-page and off-page. On-page is obviously the content that you write and the quality of it. Off-page is the links that you garner to that content. So links are always going to be a big driving force for where you show up. So the thought process that realtors should have when they create content is to create something that somebody else is going to want to link to. And the only way that's going to happen is if you have really good content. Nobody's ever going to link to a 200 or 300 word post that really doesn't say much. They will link to something that's 1,500 words that really explains something very well. And honestly, that's really how you get content to the first page, is by writing something that's that good that people say, wow, this is good. I'm gonna share this. I'm gonna link to it from my blog. I'm gonna write something and I'm gonna link back to it, referencing the article. Those are 2 quick things. I mean, obviously, I could spend a half hour talking about this part of it.
Right.
Those are good tips.
Yeah, this is fantastic information. Real quick, Bill, do you use the Remax website that they provide you? Do you have a third-party website? Do you use both? How do you link that all with your blog?
I do not have a Remax website. I have a couple of websites. They're outside hosted websites. I have I would say 2 sites that I would consider my main sites, and then I have a couple others that are rarely used as much.
Okay. And do you capture leads, generate leads off those sites, or do you forward it?
I have one site that's specifically designed to capture buyer leads. You guys probably have something similar, I'm sure. It's like a MLS property finder where a client can go in and pick a specific towns that they're interested in, price point, and then they will get emailed daily of anything new that hits the market. Do you guys have anything like that?
Yeah, it's our Remax site, Bill. We'll teach you that in another session.
Yeah, so I have that, and then I have my blog and my main website that I have for just general everything.
So what is your monthly budget that you spend on social media technology and other softwares?
That's a great question. I'm going to have to guess because honestly I probably don't sit down and figure it out. But if I was to guess, I would say it's probably, I'd probably say a couple of thousand.
Okay.
Okay.
And do you use any type of contact management system?
No.
Okay.
Content management meaning like.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, contact management. How do you track your database?
I do have Top Producer,
Okay.
but I probably don't use it as well as some other people do. I do have an assistant that actually tackles that kind of stuff for me, but yeah, I probably could be utilizing it a lot better than I do.
Gotcha. And then the other thing, Bill, is I don't know what town are you in, and what is the population of your city?
The town I live in is actually called Hopkinton, and it's the actual start of the Boston Marathon.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
Yeah, and my population here is around 15,000.
Okay.
15,000, you said?
Yep.
Okay. Fantastic. Good deal. Elizabeth, do we have any more questions on Twitter or anything? I know we wanted to try to keep this around 30 minutes, and we're about at the 30-minute mark. But
I think at this point, I think we're kind of caught up on the questions. So anything you have to wrap us up, or Bill, if there's any additional comments you kind of want to make today?
Well, if anyone's interested in going to my blog to check it out, it's www.maxrealestateexposure.com.
Great.
Right.
We'll email that out to all our agents too, so they can check you out and everything.
Awesome. I appreciate that.
For sure. I think we've only got one more question for the hangout. And one, thank you for doing this hangout. This has been great. One, we wanted to show people how good Google Hangouts can happen, how they work. And I think we'll definitely invite you to our future hangouts so
Awesome.
you can watch them.
I appreciate you guys having me.
Yeah, definitely. And I think at some point in the future we wanted to, we're actually going to even get the classroom in the hangout so they can actually ask live questions at the time. But I think this has been a great start to doing this. This was our first Remax Live hangout. But I think our last question is basically, why do you love Remax? And that can finish us off for this hangout.
I love Remax because I can do my own thing. I don't answer to anybody but me. So that's my biggest reason for why I like Remax. You know, I can't ever imagine myself going back to the traditional system. You know, so that's, for me, right at the top, just controlling my own business.
Great.
Well, I'll tell you, Bill, one of the reasons that we like Remax is because we're surrounded by great top professional agents, not only in our company, but definitely in the network, and you are certainly one of those. And we want to just thank you so much for being with us today and give you a good round of applause from the audience, but we really appreciate your time.
Oh, no problem, Elizabeth and board. Thank you guys very much.
Yes, thank you very much. We look forward to meeting you in person too, and hopefully we'll all get to see you in Vegas in March next year.
Awesome.
Yeah, and if this is your first hangout or if this is your first time joining us for Remax Live, it's also our first time, and so we hope to hold more events and hope to see you and others online in the future. So thank you guys very much today.
Yes, thanks everyone, and thanks again, Bill.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right, see you guys later.